Hello, Shredders. Nick here, known as the Exalted One on Magic the Gathering Online. Back with some more modern action. This time we are playing Sultai Control. So, this deck is kind of something that I'm trying to kind of pick my angle in the metagame and play certain cards to sort of dodge certain commonly played spells that others are playing. So this is a uh, more of a tap out style control deck. So by tap out, I mean that we're operating a lot on sorcery speed. There aren't a ton of instants or counter magic in this deck. In fact, the only instants are a few of the premium removal spells like Fatal Push and Abrupt Decay, at least in the main deck. And then the rest of our spells are just, card draw, planeswalkers, sweeper effects, other removal. So this is the deck. So kind of the core is playing Thoughtseize and Inquisition. Typically, I only play 6 in my mid-range decks. I'm playing 4 Inquisition and 3 Thoughtseize. So I'm actually one more discard spell than I typically play, and that's just because in this deck we're the controlling role. So we, if the way that we're controlling the opponent is kind of on board with our removal and sweepers, uh, and we don't have counter magic, we need to be able to manage their hand, for sure. It's not like a Jund deck where, uh, maybe we don't need to be the person, controlling things. We can just play a Tarmogoyf and be down with it. So I went with an extra one for that reason. Other than that, just a pile of removal spells. For card draw, I went with Serum Visions and Spreading Seas. Um, I think Spreading Seas, a lot of people play it in the blue-white control decks, and they understand it there, especially since that deck is only 2 colors. They get to play, Ghost Quarters or Tectonic Edges or Field of Ruins, whatever it is they want, and then they get to play Spreading Seas on top of that. I kind of like Spreading Seas in decks that have discard because if I cast a turn 1 discard spell, I can see the contents of my hand. I can kind of think of what they're thinking about. And the mana bases in Modern are super constrained. They want to cast, certain spells this turn and then, a double spell of a different color on another turn, or they want to cast, combinations of spells. So I can kind of use my discard, pick the card that I want, and then I have an idea of how they want to play things out, and I can Spreading Seas the land that kind of makes it a little bit more difficult to them. So they maybe can't play 2 spells in one turn because they don't have the mana that they need in order to do it. Because mana bases are so pushed in Modern as far as people trying to cast all of these spells. And one nice thing about our deck is that our deck, that's not necessarily true. We have double black for Liliana and Damnation, but we don't have any real double blue or double green spells unless you count like the activation cost on a Creeping Tarpit. We have to have the Tarpit and then another blue source to do that. But really, the heart of this deck is a blue-black control deck. So we're just lightly splashing green for a few cards in the main deck. Abrupt Decay, which is just a nice removal spell. The uncounterable clause can be nice, if Death Shadow has like their counter spell, Stubborn Denial, that they can't counter this, but it also hits certain non-creatures, which is nice. And it costs a mana more than Fatal Push, but you don't have to trigger the Revolt to kill a 3-drop. The humans deck's been going around, and they play Aether Vial, so being able to, if they have a hand that's very dependent on their Aether Vial, being able to take that out, that's really nice. Maelstrom Pulse, just a very flexible removal spell. I kind of go back and forth on whether I like it or not, but since we're a control deck and we're trying to answer a broad, range of things, Modern, there's tons of people doing tons of different things here. It's nice to have access to this spell in a control deck. And I like it a little bit more than maybe like Detention Sphere out of the blue-white control decks, because, they can just blow up the Detention Sphere and then you're back to parity. This way, if somebody has Gideon or an opposing Liliana or, God forbid a Karn, I can Maelstrom Pulse it and try to move on with things. Then the last card, and this is, I guess, kind of the spice of the deck, is Kiora the Crashing Wave. So Kiora is a pretty powerful card as far as planeswalkers are concerned. The only downside is that she has really low starting loyalty. So in formats where there's a lot of burn spells, it's hard to play Kiora, but in Modern that hasn't been the case too much lately. Lightning Bolt's still pretty low. Uh, there are like some Jeskai decks that play Electrolyze or Lightning Helix, things like that, but for the most part you can kind of dodge it, and if you're able to maybe just use your discard strategically or play your Kiora and immediately plus it, or to dodge the shock spell or immediately down ticket so that at least you get value if they lightning bolt it, it's not too bad. And so I think it's pretty well positioned in this format. You would actually, I think the +1 might be almost identical to getting the Trials +1, and people have seen how well that card performs in Modern. In this one, at least, you aren't having to activate it and expose it to things like Path to Exile. When you want to attack, you just sit on it for a few turns, get that emblem. It starts at 3. The emblem comes on at 5, and then you get the Kraken immediately at that end step. So it can win pretty quickly, and this is actually our main win condition of the deck. If you look at the deck and what cards are capable of winning, Kiora Emblem can win. Ashiok, you can either deck the opponent or beat them with their own creatures that you steal. We have 2 Snapcaster Mages and then 3 Creeping Tarpits. Very minimal win conditions. Snapcaster buys back spells. This is pretty free in your mana base. Kiora does decent work on its way up to an ultimate. The only one that's kind of maybe a little bit subpar is Ashiok, but the rest of these kind of do things, and then just very minimal win conditions to win the game. So this is the main deck of the Sultai Tap Out Control deck. Then turning to the sideboard, we do have just a little bit of counter magic here. I think these are kind of the ones that you can't get away from playing. You need to be able to deal with Eldrazi. Also, this deck plays to go for the throats, so with Affinity in mind, you have to have cards that you can just swap out with go for the throat, so Ceremonious Rejection works there. Collective Brutality, again, just versatile, discard spell, Leyline to void its graveyard hate, similar with Nihil Spellbomb. Engineered Explosives is a catch-all. And then, because we're so light on win conditions, I think it's worthwhile to have a few kind of hard-hitting cards in the sideboard. I guess not hard-hitting in the sense of, power and toughness, but cards that can generate some value. So Tireless Tracker can draw a lot of cards with the clues, especially if people are, keeping in their removal. You can maybe steal some gains with these creatures, but they also generate value. So even if the opponent was like, well, I'm not sure if they have creatures or not, I'm just going to leave in, 2 or 3 Path to Exiles or what have you, you can maybe get some value before they use that card. Also, these cards are a little bit well positioned against, for example, Fatal Push. You can't push Tasigur. Tireless Tracker, they at least have to trigger Revolt. And again, these are both value creatures, so even if they kill them, it's not the worst thing in the world. So this is the deck that I'll be running through a league for you all. This Sultai Tap Out Control deck. I haven't actually played a ton of matches. Normally I play a few more than I have with this one before making a video, but it's been pretty good, and I was pretty impressed with Kiora the Crashing Wave. Not feeling too embarrassed to take it out into combat, and hopefully you all enjoy this as well. So stay tuned for the matches, Stratters. Hello, Stratters. Nick here playing a match of Modern with Sultai Control. We're on the draw. I think this hand is reasonable enough to keep. A lot better against a creature deck than anything else. So basic mountain feels like burn, and if they didn't play a 1-drop creature, they might have an Eidolon of the Great Revel. So I'm going to lead out on Swamp here so we can keep up Fatal Push. Obviously at this point it's just kind of speculation on my part whether my opponent is actually burn or not, but I don't know, it's just kind of the feeling I get. Okay, so Clifftop Retreat, Chalice of the Void on 1, that's fine. So this looks to be actually a red-white prison deck. So let's kind of make a mental note here and slide all our 1-drops to the other side of our hand so we aren't tempted to cast them into the Chalice of the Void. And is this a Blood Moon? A Ghostly Prison. I think that's alright. Our deck wins mostly with planeswalkers, and so that seems okay to me. Let's play this forest and get a Liliana into play. And I'll just discard one of these dead 1-drop spells. So typically this deck is pretty high curve, so Liliana just sort of paring down the resources is pretty good. This is often a deck that needs its 5th or 6th land to cast like a Gideon Jura or an Elspeth Sun's Champion. So the Liliana activations, I think, typically work pretty well. Alright, so Gideon's going to lock down our Tar Pit. We'll just keep plussing our Liliana. We have a few different outs. To the Ajani. Maelstrom Pulse, if we're able to get an untapped blue source, we can cast a Snapcaster Mage. Doesn't go ultimate for at least a little while, and our Liliana of the Veil is going to ultimate first, unless there's some burn spells. So maybe our Liliana is going to get double burnt here, or maybe this is just to win the race to ultimate with the Johnny. So I wonder if the opponent is a Blood Moon deck or not. Okay, Maelstrom Pulse is nice. I don't think we're going to be needing... I'm not sure if I want to go... Wow, why wouldn't they... I guess this gets a card out of my hand, but... let's see, so what do I want to get rid of here? Either go for the Throat or Damnation. I guess next turn I'm for sure going to be... I think I'll get rid of Damnation. It's possible I could want it to, you know, if they do get to like an Elspeth Sun's Champion to clean up the tokens. But Creeping Tarpit handles that card pretty well. Ooh, a Chandra. So now we really need to draw a blue source so that we can activate Tar Pit. And we didn't. Let's see, I think I just want to Spreading Seas. I'm almost contemplating Spreading Seas my own land. I think that maybe would be a little bit of a loose play, so I'm going to Spreading Seas their land. And we found a blue source, so at least next turn we can use the Tar Pit. Think about whether I want to... well, I guess not. I guess I was thinking about whether I want to put that Breeding Pool into play untapped so I could cast Snapcaster, but I have a Maelstrom Pulse in the yard, so I want to use Snapcaster to flash back Maelstrom Pulse. In which case, then we don't even need to activate our Tar Pit and put it into harm's way. Alright, so opponent has their 5th land. They fetch just to thin out a land from their deck before they plus the Chandra. Their life total's not under any pressure, so it makes a lot of sense to do the thinning there. Ooh, now there's a Gideon. So this is a lot of planeswalkers to handle. I think we're going to have a Having a difficult time with it. So we're definitely Snapcaster Maelstrom Pulsing here, and I think Gideon is the one that we need to take care of. This is going to put tokens out. If they minus the Chandra to deal with the Snapcaster Mage, it's not a terrible thing for us. Then that leaves us open to finishing off the Chandra with a Creeping Tarpit. They may also be depending on this ally token to protect the Chandra, in which case we have a removal spell. Okay, so they play a Mind Stone off the Chandra. So this is going to give them a redraw. So I'm going to Fatal Push the Knight token. I guess it doesn't matter. This is going to happen regardless. Yeah, Chalice is an easy card to forget about. So if they draw an answer off the sacking the Mind Stone to deal with the Chandra, or to deal with this Tar Pit, that'll be a little bit annoying. But chances of that are probably slim. And it's not like I had enough mana that I could have cast the Go for the Throat and I cast the Fatal Push, but it is annoying because if I draw another Liliana or something, this is a card in my hand that I can discard to the Liliana to kind of protect other cards in my hand, and now I don't have that resource, but mistakes happen. You just have to keep playing and play the best that you can after you make the mistake. So I presume they don't have a removal spell because and also one thing to note is that Ghostly Prison's creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2. So it's nice that we don't have to pay a tax to attack the Chandra. If this card were you or Planeswalkers, then it would be so annoying. Okay, so they'll make me sacrifice this after. That's fair. So they were able to still deal with the Tar Pit, but I at least am preventing the Chandra from going ultimate. Wrath of God, so that's blank. That's good. We need our opponent to draw at least a couple of those to have a fighting chance here, I think. Let's see if their draw for turn was a blank or not. And the Tar Pit lives, so it looks like it was. Alright, so I exiled a land with the Chandra. Gideon of the Trials. This is a target permanent. So that does take care of the Gideon. I think here I need to just fetch and try to draw something good. Another Tar Pit is Probably one of their better draws that we could have, honestly. Another Ghostly Prison. Not sure if they want that or not. I mean, eventually I'm going to have to attack them to win the game, but it doesn't prevent their planeswalkers from being attacked, and that's kind of what matters in this game right now. Right, so they deal with one of those. So let's see if they have more removal or not. I think I need to deal with Chandra first. That, and I can draw Abrupt Decay to deal with a Gideon. The tar pits have under a reasonable amount of pressure where they can't necessarily emblem the Gideon at any point. It's a bigger Gideon. Yeah, that's gonna be tough. I have to say, out of rule changes that Wizards has made lately, the Planeswalker rule, as they changed it to now, is I think one of the worst ones that they've done in a long time. Planeswalkers are easily the best card type, and this rule just makes them even better. So it's kind of annoying. Now I need to think. Does this... I guess if I fetch, then this Gideon and that Gideon, or this token, and... Well, I can kill the token now, so... Oh, if I kill the token, then they have to activate both Gideons to attack. They might also get 2 damage off the Chandra. Probably will get 2 damage, so really I'm at 5, so then if I fetch... So I don't think I can fetch the way that the math works out, because Chandra will put me to 5, and then if I fetch and go to 4, then either Gideon activating kills me, whereas this way maybe I have a chance. I don't know exactly what I could draw, but well, that's not going to do it. Okay, so with the 2 Creeping Tarpits, do I have an attack that can allow me to live? I don't think so, because this will put me to 5. So I could kill this, stay at 7, but then both Gideons activate and I die. I could send both at Gideon, the other Gideon activates and I die. I don't think I have a way out. So we'll just scoop. And go to sideboard. Alright, so here Inquisition looked kind of weak to me. Damnation also looked pretty weak. Really everything except for the decays and pulses as far as removal didn't look great. I think I want Negate. I think I want Engineered Explosives. I think I want all of my creatures. And then I think some of this garbage is going to have to stay in. Which ones do I want? Seeing as they're a Chalice deck, probably don't want push. I'd probably rather depend on Go for the Throat. And then maybe the discard is reasonable. Maybe I just want Nihil Spellbomb because it cycles, but that also has problems with Chalice. Collective Brutality doesn't really do much. I can take some cards from their hand. This could counter a Chalice perhaps, but it doesn't seem great. think I would maybe rather have Inquisition. It's kind of my not great, but let's keep it in sort of card. We'll go with that. So our opponent's kind of on a similar strategy where they don't have any creatures in their main deck, really. They just have a bunch of planeswalkers, and that's kind of what we're doing too. This seems alright. Kiora's also not particularly good in this because they have burn spells. Okay, so they mulligan quite a bit, so that helps. Yeah, in this matchup are Abrupt Decays and... So they have a Blood Moon. Do I want to take that, or do I want to just attempt to play around it? I guess the problem with playing around it is that it comes out a turn before Kiora, and I mean I only have one fetch land that can get a forest right now, so then I would need an island as well. I don't really have that. Now I do, so I kind of wish things went a little bit differently. This upcoming turn, I think I'm going to Snapcaster Thoughtseize. As weird as it may be not to play the Darkslick Shores here, I think I actually don't want to. I think I want to play my fetch lands and fetch my basics so that I have a little bit of insulation against Blood Moon. So we'll Snapcaster Thoughtseize. Take that Oblivion Ring, maybe something else. So just 2 lands, but they have a card in tow with the Mind Stone if they want that. So they played the Arid Mesa, so they just have a mountain in hand. So here, again, I'm just gonna, well, see, so this has an activation cost of 4, so they would have this available to them next turn. As far as I know, they don't have a burn spell. I think I'm going to attack with the Snapcaster and then fetch Island and plus Kiora on the Needle Spire. This also starts putting the Kiora up towards ultimate, so at least we have that going for us. Yeah, so the Kiora plus ability is, I think, almost the same as the Gideon of the Trials plus ability. I think maybe the numbers are a little bit better on Gideon of the Trials, but Gideon doesn't draw you cards, so it does. Kiora does have that over Gideon, I guess, but they're both a little bit vulnerable and work best against large singular threats. So what is this? A Leyline of Sanctity. That should be alright. Ooh, a Negate is a good draw. Get these tapped lands into play. Continue to plus on the Needle Spire. And then, since I have Negate, I don't want to attack with the Tar Pit. One thing to know about this deck is a lot of times when you see, this one Sacred Foundry up in Modern, you're thinking about Bolt, you're thinking about Path, but remember that this deck is a deck that plays Chalice of the Void, so the chance of encountering those cards is pretty unlikely. I know some pilots of the deck like to, yeah, I don't think I really care about it, so I'll let it happen. Some pilots of the deck like to side out chalices and have like a couple paths in their sideboard, but I do not. So we'll continue to plus on the Needle Spires, and then this Ashiok should do pretty good work. Wonder when the opponent's going to decide to crack this Mind Stone. We don't know about anymore. And then here I'll leave up my leave up my basics for Negate. So we'll play this Ashiok. And it doesn't do anything because of the Leyline, but I think it's better to have it in play. If you didn't see when I click there, because it's exile the top 3 cards of target opponent's library. But we could draw a Maelstrom Pulse and then have, deal with this Leyline. So they're going to Lightning Helix, presumably going after the Kiora. What was that? Window was kind of weird. I don't understand what happened there. It looked like it was asking me where I wanted to redirect the damage. So I think because we have Negate, we can afford to use this Leyline, or this Maelstrom Pulse on the Leyline. I don't think I would typically make this play, but it would be nice to get this Ashiok going, and we would also get to see just a little bit more of the opponent's deck, what's going on in it. And the mill victory is a thing that can happen with Ashiok, especially this deck doesn't really have creatures to pressure the Ashiok. They have, some planeswalkers that can turn into creatures with the Gideons, but for the most part, this is just going to happen. This I will negate because otherwise my negate would be useless, so I might as well. Keep plussing on the Needle Spires. That would also shut off like some really good draws like Snapcaster Mage. Let's see, in this turn I should have probably attacked with a Tar Pit. Up until this point I've had a negate that I've wanted to hold up, and I've needed to kind of reserve that mana. But on this particular turn I think I should have attacked with the Creeping Tarpit, so my opponent should really be at 9 here. I kind of missed some points of damage. And it would be nice to maybe eventually draw a removal spell so that we could maybe minus this Kiora, although I guess we are working our way towards the ultimate, so not necessarily a bad thing to just continually plus it. I wonder if we get Ashiok high enough, if we even want to take a turn to minus it and get the cards out of their hand. I mean, they haven't really been casting much. Okay, and they've had enough. So really they should have been at 4 there, and then we would have won, but I missed that Creeping Tarpit hit. That said, felt kind of close for how much they mulliganed, but I think that's kind of what we have to have happen sometimes. Yeah, I don't want any of these 1-drops really. The sweepers seem really bad. Collective Brutality can maybe grab an instant or sorcery sometimes, but most of the time it doesn't matter. And like Leyline, I think this is about as good as we can get. Let's see. I guess as far as like that creature land is concerned, we have Spreading Seas, so we don't really need to bring in like Fatal Pushes to have more answers to Nihil Spires. I'll keep this. I think Negate handles a lot of potential problems for us. Inquisition was a good draw. So let's take a look at what they've got. Try to sculpt a plan. Oh, so they have a Magus of the Moon and a Sphere of Safety. I do have an answer to this Magus in Abrupt Decay. I think I'd rather just take it. Abrupt Decay is going to be a really premium card for us with the Gideons and the ghostly prisons and whatnot. I think it's kind of a card that we don't want to... Okay, so here... Played... I don't know if I want to Thoughtseize or if I want to leave up Negate. I think I want to leave up Negate because I can always just Thoughtseize and then hold up Negate next turn if they do nothing. I also have Abrupt Decay up if they play something kind of strange that I want to let resolve, but then use that on. So here, I think I have to Negate and then I'll use Thoughtseize. So if I let this resolve, then my Thoughtseize is basically dead in my hand. This isn't the card that I necessarily want to trade my Negate for, but it allows me to use my Thoughtseize, so I think that's kind of what I got to do. So here, take this Sphere of Safety. It's a kind of annoying card sometimes. And then my opponent probably will start playing and cracking these Mind Stones. If they tap a little weird, maybe I could snipe one with a Decay. Liliana's a good draw. So I think I want to get this Tireless Tracker down, perhaps. We didn't see any creature removal, and with what they saw from our deck, I wouldn't be surprised if they took it out. Kind of the worst case scenario for us is that they play a Planeswalker, and then we need something in play that can start attacking that Planeswalker, so I think this is our kind of best play here. If they Blood Moon us, we'll be in a little bit of trouble, but at least we'll have a Tireless Tracker. Okay, so they just have a lot of Mind Stones, and Mind Stone is a good card if you're able to use the ramp ability, and then cash it in a little bit later on. And that isn't really too terrible for us either. So I think what I actually want to do here is Abrupt Decay this Oblivion Ring and then play our fetch land just to get the most clues possible. We'll fetch our swamp here. And then I guess there's a chance we could draw a 1-mana spell. Should have left a Darkslick because we still have Serum Visions in the deck. Yeah, I got punished there. Yeah, so I should have tapped the Overgrown Tomb, but hopefully that I'm playing a little bit loose tonight. I don't know what the deal is, but I guess maybe it's just this deck I'm still kind of new to, and then I also haven't played against the opponent's deck very much either. So what do they have? If it's anything... Okay, so I was worried about an Elspeth Sun's Champion, but they're cracking a Mind Stone, so that looks like that possibility is out. Still could be... Okay, so Lightning Helix. Now there's a Blood Moon. Ooh, and there's a Maelstrom Pulse. So... Unlock our lands, cast a Serum Visions. We have a Lily already. We definitely want this Abrupt Decay. Alright. Alright, nice. So now we get to play a Planeswalker here. I think I'm going to go with Liliana. I'm actually going to sacrifice a clue, just get the most information. They have a Lightning Helix as their last card. I guess that's good on them, but that's also might be... I think once this match is done, I'm just going to take a little break, try to cool down a bit, because I feel like I've been making a ton of mistakes, but the deck has been at least delivering. Yeah, I think just get rid of the land here. I kind of want all these other cards. But we should be able to hopefully land there was... Oh, that was great. So we'll just crack our clue. Again, discard this land. I'll cast a Tasigur. Get rid of all the discard first. Probably a Decay, since Maelstrom Pulse does about the same thing. Tracker or Negate. I guess I already have Negate in my hand, so another threat wouldn't be terrible. That seems fine to me. So now we have a threat in play to win with. Liliana threatening. Can maybe even find a window for this Kiora. Opponent's under quite a bit of pressure. Okay, so Gideon's probably going to make a guy, but then I can just sacrifice effect with Liliana. Or do I want to? I think I just need to save this Abrupt Decay. I think this is kind of a card that is really important, so even though I could use it to kill the knight, I don't want to do that. So I'll make them sacrifice a creature and just attack the Gideon with Tasigur. And kind of want to save this Spreading Seas in case we find, or they find the Needle Spires, but I really wanted to hit this land here, and I don't want to let anything get risked and tap out for Kiora. I just want to keep up this Negate as long as I can, and now we get the added benefit of a Tasigur activation as well. So fetch our island, activate the Tasigur, so we're drawing some cards. These are all really good for us. I guess this Liliana is maybe the worst, but we can always just, discard it with our Liliana that's in play. Yeah, at this point, Tasigur is just kind of making our Liliana activation a little bit less taxing on us. I do want to keep pushing this Liliana up. Kiora, and just plus it. Again, just get multiple Planeswalkers ticking up at one time. Getting in the trials. I think that's fine because we have Abrupt Decay. They might Emblem, but that also doesn't seem real great for them either. So, yeah, we'll just decay it so that they don't maybe find a removal spell for Tasigur and then get that later. So just discard this Tasigur plus, and then this isn't going to do anything, so I'll just pass. This doesn't target right. Okay. So at this point, the only thing that does is make it so I can't ultimate the Liliana, but I don't that's a huge deal. So it'll probably give me one of my legends back, or maybe a Serum Visions. Sure, it gives me the Liliana plus Kiora. Play this Delta. Discard that Liliana again. And then, at least at this point, if I find an answer, I guess my Maelstrom Pulses are gone, but I have Snapcaster Mage left. I could, Snapcaster, Maelstrom Pulse, the Leyline, and then Ultimate the Liliana. Lightning Helix is fine. It's going to check one of my Planeswalkers, but it's not really a big deal. Kiora Ultimate, I guess I'm kind of close to, and maybe that makes it a little bit tempting to maybe counter it so I can Ultimate Kiora, but I think everything's kind of going well for me, so I don't see the reason to do that just yet. Any reason to have certain, I guess maybe more blue mana in case I need to cantrip through some Spreading Seas or something, but it's there. I'm just going to keep discarding that Liliana to this Liliana. I don't think I really care about a Chalice on one right here. So now maybe they give me back 1-drops instead, but yeah, at this point, I'm noticing that I'm shorter on clock than my opponent, so kind of maybe don't want to be spending all this time, so I'm not going to. Yeah, so the cards I'm getting back with, so a few different things. I'm much lower on clock than my opponent at this point. I am getting just absolute garbage cards back with Tasigur, so it's kind of not worth that time. That and all my Snapcasters are still in my deck, and I'd rather draw them than mill them over with Tasigur. So that was a pretty good victory. That first game was really rough for us. They just had a lot of planeswalkers and things that we had a hard time dealing with. But that post-board game, you really saw the how nice it was to have a few creatures in the sideboard. That Tireless Tracker drew us, was it 2, maybe 3 cards, something like that. Tasigur did kind of a similar thing, and it looked like they took out a lot of their creature removal because they saw kind of what we were up to. But I mean, our deck has a lot of creature removal too, and we had to kind of get rid of that as well. Whereas their deck, I guess if they have, Oblivion, Oblivion Ring is a removal spell that also hits Planeswalkers, kind of similar to how we have Abrupt Decay and Maelstrom Pulse. Anyways, that was a pretty good way to start off our league here, so I'll be back with match 2 after a little break to hopefully gain my senses back to me. So stay tuned, Stratters. Hello, Stratters. Nick here, back with match 2 of our Modern League with Sultai Control. This looks like a pretty good hand. We have discard. Liliana's good in most matchups. A lot of removal. Then even if the removal's dead, as long as we're able to stick this Liliana, we'll have things to trade for our opponent's resources, so looks like a pretty good hand to me. So I did take a little break, a couple minutes, get a drink of water, do some stretches, psych myself up. So hopefully we'll have fewer play mistakes this time around. Okay, so this looks like the humans deck, in which case I definitely want to lead off on Inquisition of Kozilek so I can take a potential Kitesail freebooter. And then, because the Kitesail freebooter would take my Damnation, and I kind of just don't want them to know, I don't want them to look at my hand to know that they have to play around Damnation. So they do have the freebooter. They are going to get to play a Thalia, which could be a little bit annoying, but like I said, I think giving them the information that we have Damnation is not something I want to do. I should pop this out. This is a deck I'm curious to try at some point. I don't have any Aether Vials, but it's an interesting looking deck. I mean, that was the first video set that I played on Magic Gathering Strat, was that Bant Humans deck, and this is it has a lot of similar cards. I think it actually plays a little bit differently. They don't have Collected Company, for example. So I know that they have a Mirror in their hand, so I think I'm going to fetch here just a Swamp and Thoughtseize them. Then probably next turn Decay the Thalia, and go from there. So they're just going to play whatever creatures they top deck as they get them. Okay, another Noble. So that's not... I guess that's a pretty good attack. So they still have a Plains in hand that I know about. But... Yeah, so Decay on Thalia, then I'll take 2 from a Noble attack. But then I don't even have to fire off the Damnation. I could just use a Maelstrom Pulse on the Nobles. And at this point, so I probably look more like a Sultai mid-range deck, so they might even expect like a Tarmogoyf or something out of me, which I don't have. And so they may even slow roll a Reflector Mage or something if they have that. And that would be a pretty good side effect of the way I built my deck. I don't know if I were in their situation, if I would run out a creature like that or not. Let's see if they have anything to add to the board. A turn of reprieve here would be really, really good for me. If they play a creature... Ooh, okay, so it looks like they don't, and typically speaking, at least the version of this deck that won the tournament didn't play any Collected Companies, and they didn't Collected Company there. Okay, so no more cards that we know about. What's this? Okay, Reflector Mage. So like I just said the previous turn, they might have had this in hand, but they might have been saving it. Now we get a pretty juicy Liliana Edict. And I think I want to keep playing out, especially Tarpit as lands. Possible we Spreading Seas the Cavern. Okay, Kitesail Freebooter. That's probably going to take our Damnation. Although, I get a plus the Liliana, and then Kitesail Freebooter does... Oh, wow, they took Spreading Seas. Interesting. Cavern's their last card. Okay. That was a pretty good draw, so now I can save the Damnation. So that's great for me, and then I'm just going to discard the Spreading Seas and fire up a Creeping Tarpit. So it looks like we may have turned the corner here. If this is the version that won the SCG event, that is playing Vials and not Collected Companies. If they're playing a Collected Company, then that's a card that we could easily lose to as soon as we can cast it. Ancient Ziggurat suggests that this isn't a company build, though, so that's good. Inquisition's an easy discard. Now we have Liliana Edict just on the table for us, so we don't have to worry about drawing removal. Oh, okay, I was like really worried that I activated the wrong Creeping Tarpit there for a second. And we may even, starting next turn, depending on what our draws are, not activate the Liliana's, ticking up to discard. Kind of might like our hands. Do I want to on a noble? I think I am going to make them sacrifice the noble. If they play a lieutenant, then things could get out of control. They get an attack for 3 in, and then we're in a little bit of trouble. And doing things this way, I think we lose the onboard Liliana Edict, but we can get that back. So what do we got here? Ooh, if this is a freebooter, okay, so we're going to take our Damnation now. I guess this was one of the cards that they could have that makes that line a little bit worse, but they're kind of have to attack the Liliana. Okay, so here I know that I could undo my shuffle, but a couple reasons I want to keep this land in play. Turning on Revolt for Fatal Push. Ooh, Kiora, that's a nice one. Don't want those. This is going to shut down the freebooter. And then we can plus the Liliana and get our Edict back slowly but surely. Yeah, so with the typically when you have a Serum Visions and you have a fetch land out, you want to fetch first so you don't upset your scries later by shuffling. But here we're at 6, so we value the 1 point of life pretty highly, and in case we need to turn Revolt on for a Fatal Push for a 3-drop like this Thalia here, we want to have the fetch land in play to facilitate that. Snapcaster is probably a good draw. So we can Snapcaster, I guess, the Abrupt Decay, and then tick up I kind of like having that Damnation tucked under the freebooter, so I'm going to kill the Talia and continue to uptick here. You see, because it's like I have a Damnation in my hand, but I don't actually have a Damnation in my hand, so I don't have to discard it to the Liliana of the Veil, so it's kind of storing it for me. So things seem to be going pretty well. Okay, another Talia. So now I can Edict the Liliana without losing it, and then plus Kiora on whichever creature's left. And I might as well get in for some damage and try to actually close the game out, so I'll fire up the Tar Pit. And I don't... well, this Snapcaster can't really... The Talia doesn't deal damage, and the damage is prevented to it, so... Prevent damage that would be dealt to and dealt by. Alright, so we got that one. Sweet. Let's go to sideboarding. So this seems to be like a matchup that we're pretty set up for. I think maybe Spreading Seas is kind of clunky here. Collective Brutality, just as an extra removal spell, could be good. Thoughtseize maybe is a little bit worse. Maybe we want some of these creatures. So let's maybe take out half the Spreading Seas and all the Thoughtseizes. And I can bring in these Tasigurs, just because they're the biggest. I can block the best. That leaves me one slot. I could have another Spreading Seas, or I could have a Tireless Tracker. I think I'll go with Tracker, just so I have... Well, Explosives also seems good. Yeah, I'll go with Explosives. Tracker's good, you know, grinding out card advantage, but they're pretty aggressive, so there's a good chance that we would maybe make one clue with this and then have to trade it off, and then we're so taxed to deal with the board that we, you know, we could die before we ever actually get to draw the card from the clue. So I think this seems alright to me. And so we'll go ahead and submit that. I wonder how Ashiok is in this matchup. The deck that's, I think, lists that I've seen have been... I'll keep this. Well, I guess we'll find out. We'll find out how good Ashiok is. So do I want to... I think I'll get a fetch out of the way. So I'll fetch a blue-black land here, cast Serum Visions. And then maybe, because that... Ooh, these are all looking pretty good. So I'll put that on top and that on top of that. Just tons of removal. I don't want to play out even though I probably will end up EEing on one, I don't want to let them know that I have it, because otherwise, like, they may go champion, you know, plus something, another one drop. Looks like a freebooter though. We have freebooter under control. I don't know what you take here. Probably, I mean, 2 Damnations and an Explosives. So I'm probably going to use the Go for the Throat that's on top of my deck to kill the Kitesail freebooter, and then I'll use EE, paying 1 Sunburst and 2 to activate on turn 3, fire off a Damnation on turn 4, and then Ashiok to hopefully mop things up if nothing goes wrong. So we could take a big hit here depending on, you know, if they have a Mayor or a Lieutenant, but we might be alright. So if we can survive the early onset, then I think we're going to be in a reasonable shape. What do they have here? Is this a Mantis Rider? That would be pretty good. It is a Mantis Rider. So I think it's too important to get the EE back to take out the Noble and the Champion next turn, so I am still going to kill the Freebooter, even though this Mantis Rider has given us a pretty good beatdown. But just the way our curve lines up, we need this EE, so we'll take a good hit and we'll play EE and then blow it up main phase so that we get a mana and a creature. So EE for 1, blow up the explosives. So another Mantis Rider would maybe be kind of annoying because that leaves us fairly low, but Kitesail Freebooter, I guess we have 2 Damnations, so even that isn't the worst. Ooh, that's a good card here. That's going to prevent us from casting this Damnation on time, but we do have Liliana to Edict a creature away at least. So, oh, but we drew an untapped basic land, and we lucked out. Sorry, opponent, but we lucked out. So now we have another Damnation in hand. 2 Planeswalkers. This looks like a pretty good position. I think they know that we have another Damnation. Maybe they don't. I don't recall exactly. Ooh, Kiora is really nice here because this can just bubble the Lieutenant and then forces them to kind of extend even farther into our Damnation. Kiora and Damnation, I guess Kiora and Sweepers kind of go just really well together. Sure, a Mare is fine. Grows the Lieutenant, but doesn't really do a ton. Fetch a Overgrown Tomb. So I think even if we hadn't gotten lucky with getting that untapped land, we'd probably have stabilized at 4. And next turn we can get the triple Planeswalker down, and I think that's going to be pretty hard to come back from. Well, I guess we won't be able to because Thalia taxes us, although if we draw another land, and we do, cool. So we'll edict that. Plus, and we got one more basic in the deck, so fetch it out. Cast Ashiok, and now it's basically a race between Ashiok and Kiora. What we deck, we win with our opponent's creatures, the Krakens. What wins us the game? Let's see. The Fearsome Noble Hierarch. Let's see if we can get a juicy human under here. Maybe we can get a Mantis Rider out. That'd be pretty good. Mantis Rider is a card out of their deck that we could still, I guess, lose to. If they draw Mantis Rider, get a hit in, do that twice over. But I guess there's one Mantis Rider in the graveyard and one under the Ashiok. So not super likely, but if they drew back to back, that's a possible thing that we could lose to. So, unless we draw, a removal spell in the meantime. Okay, Meddling Mage. So let's see what they name. Card is Maelstrom Pulse, sure. So I guess that's one they haven't seen yet this game. Maybe we take the Mantis Rider out of their deck, or under this Ashiok to help protect us. So we'll take a 3-drop. Like this Mantis Rider, please. Play that. Take this up, and then I don't know how greedy this is actually to plus and keep the Kiora. Or what's the? Am I already high enough? Oh, wow, I can already. I guess I didn't realize that. Is that greedy? I think I want to continue ticking this up until I have a removal spell. The next turn, Liliana edicts, so I guess that's kind of a removal spell we already have access to, but they might, yeah, they're highly likely to draw creatures. Right, this is, yeah, bowled by Kiora, so it doesn't do anything. Use their time. Ooh, Snapcaster. Snapcaster Damnation seems like exactly what we're looking for. And we shall release the Krakens, plus Liliana, plus Ashiok. Pop this chat, and I think we've probably got this one sealed up. I guess, like I said, maybe still a couple Mantis Riders could get us, but other than that, oh wow, they have Tireless Trackers. Maybe I want a Tireless Tracker. Let's see if they chump block or not. Didn't. Prevent the damage there. Discard a card. Take one of their Tireless Trackers. Make another Kraken. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think that was a problem to have that flip. They will get a token, but it's not a huge deal. I mean, we have a Creeping Tarpit, so yeah, we sealed that one up. That was a really good feeling matchup from my perspective of things. I mean, we got Planeswalker, all of our Planeswalkers out. They just got a bunch of advantage. We, killed all the opponent's creatures and won the game with Krakens, I guess. That was sweet. Awesome, so we're off to a nice 2-0 start here. Feeling good and looking to see what this deck can do still. Stay tuned, Stratters. Hello, Stratters. Here we are playing Sultai Midrange Control. I guess more... I'm not exactly sure. I think it's more control than mid-range. I tend to... If a deck has a sweeper in it, I tend to err on the side of control. Anyways, playing Sultai Control in Modern. I'm going to go ahead and keep this hand. Not the most well-rounded hand, but not terrible. So Flooded Strand fetches out Basic Island. Cast a Sleight of Hand, so this looks maybe like a Storm deck. Okay, if that's what the case is, then I think I want to fetch out a Watery Grave, cast my Serum Visions, then leave the possibility of Abrupt Decaying a cost reducer. With the Serum Visions, we'll want to find our discard spells or Liliana. We already have plenty of removal, and Abrupt Decay being the uncounterable removal spell, I think makes it pretty unlikely that we'll need more removal. So let's see, Steam Vents, if this is a Baral or Electromancer. It is a Baral, so we are in fact playing against Storm. We've had some pretty good matches playing here against Storm. So I think I can just afford to get a basic forest here and just kill that right away. So typically when the Storm player... Okay, they're not doing anything. I was going to say, typically when the Storm player doesn't plays a cost reducer on 2, they have another, but it could be that they just don't have the lands. I'm going to Spreading Seas this Steam Vents. It kind of puts pressure on them to find another red source. Might slow them down just a little bit. And what are they doing? Peer Through Depths. This isn't one I've seen in Storm as much now that they have Opt available to them. But I guess if it's a card that a certain pilot really likes, then they'll just continue to play it. So if nothing too drastic happens here, one of the kind of strikes against Peer Through Depths you can see here, the opponent is bottlenecked on mana, and Peer Through Depths can only find instants or sorceries. So maybe they found one with the Serum Visions. Looks like they haven't. So we're going to just cast this Kiora. Looks like now's our opening. Reman's down. They don't have a red mana. I think this is just about as good of a time as we can cast it. And then this is our main clock to win the game. So we're just going to start ticking this Planeswalker up and hoping that we make it through this turn cycle it kind of, I guess I could look and see what they did with the Serum Visions, but I don't think that really changes my play, because not only do they really need a land, they need a red land, and the deck plays usually at least a few basic islands. It's a pretty land-light deck, and then I think they typically play somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 4 basic islands. So they found a Scalding Tarn. I guess the other thing is if their cost reducer is an Electromancer, then they would need double red. So we may die here, but we might not. Okay, so it's Electromancer. And I am going to... sequencing is important here. They actually have Remand up as long as this Electromancer is alive. So I needed to do things in that order. I don't think preserving my life total is that big of an issue, and I kind of want to make the opponent think that I only have one of each basic if they're maybe going to Blood Moon me. What's there? And well, no, I'm going to leave up. I'm going to leave up removal here. So this might be their Gifts Ungiven turn. Okay, land tapped. Okay, so that means it's probably not their Gifts Ungiven turn unless they're doing the hard sell. Caster Liliana. Here's a Remand probably. That's fine. Get that down next turn. We still have Fatal Push Up. Kiora is going to Emblem next turn, so we can get our Krakens crack-a-lackin', so to speak. They're still not doing anything, so I don't know what their hand is. Storm is a deck I would like to at some point pilot, just so I know how it works. I feel like I have a really... I never know... I just don't know what's always happening with the opponent. It's a deck I'd like to get my hands on and play a couple times. I feel like I would do much better playing against it. Yeah, I'll just take a Gifts Ungiven. If I had ever played with it myself, but I haven't, so... Start whittling down the resources with Liliana of the Veil, and we'll get our Kraken, and should hopefully put them on about a 2-turn clock, I would suppose. So they have a pile of Manamorphose. So I'm not, as I just said, not a Storm aficionado here, but I feel like you would always discard Pyretic before you would discard Desperate Ritual, because if you draw another Desperate Ritual, you can splice. Obviously, not a Storm professional, but that's what I always kind of thought was the case. Hoping I can do things here, so I'm gonna put the rituals in the yard, or the ritual in the Past in Flames. I typically like to put Past in Flames in the graveyard because it's more expensive there, and they can only cast it once, whereas if I give it to them, then they basically get to cast it once from hand and once later in the turn. So here I have 9. I don't have lethal with Snapcaster. That would be 11 plus 3, so we'll carry on. So I'll attack with the Kraken, plus Liliana, then I'm going to Snapcaster a Thoughtseize, and hope that their discard to the Liliana and the Snapcaster Thoughtseize plus my Fatal Push is enough to keep them from the critical mass that they need to go off. So I want to take the ritual here, I think. Although Metamorphose allows them to see more cards. So maybe, I mean, with an Electromancer, this puts them up 2 mana, this puts them up 1 mana, but it also gets them a card. The Electromancer is going to die no matter what they do. So I think taking the card that puts them up more mana is what I want to do. And we'll just hope that Fatal Push on the Electromancer seals the deal. I mean, they're either going to win this turn or they won't. We'll find out together. So I guess they play Electromancer. It depends on what they find off of these Metamorphose, really. It's the sticking point. So they'll go to use it. Okay, but they don't have red mana, so they may have actually wanted to lead off with this ritual so that they had more red, because now they can't cast the Metamorphose in response and get the discount with the Electromancer. So I think they probably wanted to go Desperate Ritual then cast the, but we'll see. Because now these Metamorphose are just mana neutral. If they find more rituals, they might be able to get it done. They need to get to 5 mana for a Past in Flames, and then 2 mana for a ritual effect. I guess they could get another cost reducer, perhaps, if they have enough mana to spare. So there's all the cards we knew about. Now it's down to what they've got. Okay, Spirebluff Canal doesn't do it. They cast Past in Flames with Flashback, and they have no mana, so I think we've got this one. That was really close, but I don't know. I find that that's usually how the matches with Storm feel, is that they kind of wait until you put them, because we're going to kill them next turn, so they just wait until that last turn, like, before they really just have to go off. So I know some people don't necessarily like Storm in the format, but I kind of like it in that regard. So I want these Collective Brutalities. I don't think I want Damnation. I can bring in Engineered Explosives as an answer to empty the Warrens. Ashiok doesn't seem great. Spreading Seas doesn't seem great either. Negate seem pretty good to me. Tasigur I like, not so much Tireless Tracker. Tasigur has the ability to come out pretty cheap. And then there's some question about this Graveyard Hate, if I want any of that. maybe Spreading Seas is just actually not good. So I'd have Negates, Collective Brutalities, 1 Explosives, a couple Tasigurs. I also think Ashiok is pretty poor in this matchup too. Just doesn't really affect their game plan. I mean, there's a chance we can, you know, exile cards from their deck that are important, but it's pretty low probability. And like getting a Brawler or a Electromancer ourselves isn't. I mean, it's cute and all, but I don't think it's gonna win us any games. So Spellbomb cycles, which we might need since we took out all our Spreading Seas for a little bit. You know, we need a way to churn through our deck, and this does interact with their graveyard, so I think this is what I'm going to submit. So then the only kind of card that I could maybe see bringing in is this Leyline, but I don't know if that's really better than anything else that we have going on. I don't think so, so I'm going to go ahead and submit this. This looks like a fine hand, I think. So we don't have removal for a cost reducer, but we do have a couple discard spells, and if they play one a little bit later on, we could use Maelstrom Pulse. So we'll lead off on Inquisition, and then maybe next turn cast Nihil Spellbomb, Thoughtseize, or maybe Serum Visions. We'll plan that as we go. So pop out the revealed cards so we can keep track of that. Okay, so they have Electromancers and a Remand. So I'm going to take one of the Electromancers. Remand's pretty poor against our 1-mana spells. So I can Thoughtseize them next turn, and maybe they cycle their Remand, maybe they don't. And whatever the result of that is, I don't really care too much. If they play out the Electromancer here, that's actually kind of worse for us since we don't have a removal. So we'll go for an Inquisition. So now I'll take the Remand, and then I'm going to fetch up. This is kind of awkward. I think I need to take a blue-black land. Since we have Serum Visions, we can hopefully find a green source to cast our Maelstrom Pulse. Take 2, and actually, so what do they got? They have Snow-Covered, Flintstrand, Remand we took, Electromancer, and I think this Tarn is the Tarn that they've already played, so they have Gifts, Snow-Covered Island, Flooded Strand. I think I would rather actually use Serum Visions this turn. These all look pretty good to me. So next turn we can go play the fetch land that's on top of the deck, Thoughtseize away the Gifts Ungiven, and then if they play the Electromancer, we can push it. If not, we can cast another Serum Visions or the Spellbomb. So I think our hand's lining up pretty well, and Kiora's hopefully help us get where we need to be. So here's the Electromancer. So we just go land, Thoughtseize, hopefully get Gifts Ungiven. They could have drawn another Remand. So we'll take the Gifts, Fatal Push. This Electromancer. And then we have a Kiora on top of our deck that I kind of don't want to shuffle away, since that's, I mean, really that's how we win the game with this deck. As weird as it sounds, but so we kind of don't want to get rid of that until we have no other options. So they have a Great Shot and an Unknown. ahead and fetch a forest here. So we're insulated against Blood Moon now. Cast Serum Visions. We have a Thoughtseize. So we'll take these. I guess Thoughtseize is going to grab this Grape Shot. Could grab something else. They might have a Gifts, in which case they'll Gifts in response. And if they do that, then we also have a Nihil Spellbomb to follow up with, so wouldn't be the worst. So we can play the Spellbomb. So they're on pretty empty, I mean. And that's the mountain we know about, so both don't have much happening here. And even a Gifts Ungiven isn't the end of the world because we can Spellbomb cards out of their graveyard. So it looks like they may have peeled the Gifts. That's going to make it a game, but like I said, we can exile whatever flashback shenanigans they have. Get the Kiora out. It's a little a shame that Kiora is so fragile. Lightning Bolt has been on the downswing in Modern, in red removal in general, but just like a couple spells and a Grape Shot can kill a Kiora, and that's a little bit bad for us. So let them ponder their Gifts Ungiven. I'm not sure exactly if there's a pile that you go with when, so I think I want to get rid of this Metamorphose since that draws them a card, and maybe the Desperate Ritual. Since we have a Maelstrom Pulse, I'm not super worried about Baral. Maybe I should be. Well, what's the worst that happens? I mean, if they draw and empty the Warrens or something, that would be bad. If they draw Past in Flames, then we just exile the graveyard in response. So I'm actually going to get rid of this Baral. I just played a tap land. I'm not sure if I should just use the Spellbomb. I don't think I have to. And if we don't draw a card from it, I mean, every time you don't draw a card when you had the opportunity to, a Muldrifter cries, but I think it's alright. We just would have to crack our Spellbomb and not draw a card. It looks like they're just passing. Another land. So we'll just get up to the emblem as fast as we're able to. I think we have a lot of the different avenues covered here. We have Abrupt Decay for a cost reducer now. Spellbomb still for a Past in Flames kill. If they go just with an Empty the Warrens plan, we have a Maelstrom Pulse, so I feel alright here. Blood Moon would probably be worse for them than for us in this scenario. It's really all I can think of. You're ahead, and you never want to lose the game really when you're ahead. You still want to think about the different avenues of the way different things could happen. I'm actually going to sandbag this land just in case we draw Liliana of the Veil, so we can have something to discard to it. It's fine by me. Decay that in response. I'm going to fire off a couple rituals in response, but you don't want them to have the card that they're going to draw off a Manamorphose. And if their last card, well, they just ritualed everything, so they're hoping to, like, I guess, blind peel and empty the Warrens. Past in Flames doesn't do it because we have Nihil Spellbomb, but they just fired off all their resources. And only one blue. Okay, sleight of hand. I guess we're going to ultimate the Kiora, so this might be their best chance to win. I don't know their thought processes exactly. I also feel like with the Manamorphose, you definitely want to make 2 blue. Like, that's going to be the bottleneck here. Sure. So even if they Past in Flames, we'll have a Spellbomb. I don't know if they can rebuild from here or not. So put the Manamorphose in the yard since it's the one that draws a card. And Past in Flames in the yard. So they only get 1 shot at it. And if they go to flash, if they put anything on the stack, I am going to use this Nihil Spellbomb. Yeah, because this is a sorcery, so Spellbomb you. And we'll pay the mana and draw the card so the Muldrifter doesn't cry. What I'm trying to do is Past in Flames and Grape Shot are both sorceries. And I think that's the one thing that's always kept the Storm deck from being actually broken is that their kill conditions are all sorcery speed. Awesome. Release the Krakens! And again, I don't want to play the land just in case I draw a Lily, but I mean, they've went through a ton of stuff here. I don't know what they could realistically have. I mean, we have a Negate. What can they really have? So it looks like we'll pick this one up against Storm. That was a pretty solid victory. I've really enjoyed a lot of the matches I've had against Storm recording here. This was another good one. Well, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed what's happened thus far, and stay tuned for what's to come. Hello, Stratters. Here we are for our 4th match with Sultai Control in Modern. Go ahead and keep this hand. I think we want to fire off Thoughtseize before we cast our Serum. Well, I guess I know exactly what we're against now, so yeah, I think we still want to Thoughtseize. It'll let us know how far off from Tron. Okay, so they're actually a blue Tron deck, not a not the other Tron deck. So we'll take this Condescend, and then that means our Spreading Seas they're still going to be fine, but they're going to be less good. Sometimes they'll actually fix the opponent's mana. Well, these Go for the Throats are going to be probably pretty bad. What do we want to do here? I think we just want to actually Serum Visions to try to hit more land drops. Put that on top and then put that on top. So we're going to hit our land drops. The opponent's going to have this Supreme Will up. I guess there's a small chance they play Treasure Mage here. Let's see what they do. Looks like they're... Okay, so they're going to cast Treasure Mage. Now I kind of wish I put things in the other order, but we are still going to, I guess, Liliana and then Edict them. If they get the natural Tron, we're probably going to lose, but that was probably true anyways. So let's just deal ourselves tons of damage. Wow. I'm actually going to tick this up. Maybe, well, no. Let me think about this. So if I go to 1, I can put Lily to 1, get rid of the Treasure Mage. I can put her to 4. She takes 2 from the Treasure Mage. So next turn she'll either be at 1 or she'll be at 2. So actually, by plussing the Liliana, we're going to get to have a Liliana on higher loyalty next turn. So we'll probably... Well, I guess the problem with this calculation is that this assumes that our Go for the Throat's going to resolve. That's not necessarily true. Okay, so they took Supreme Will down to play a map. They played out Academy Runes. So next turn they could have Tron. Tron would allow them, so 7. Okay, so we're going to get, I think, maybe a little risky here. And try to draw an untapped land off of this. Then we'll evaluate with the Liliana. This is kind of a bad matchup, I think, so... Okay, so if they're spending their mana there, then they're not spending it elsewhere. We'll discard, and I'll discard a Go for the Throat. So if they're spending their will or their mana on Supreme Will, then they're not going to be spending it on Expedition Map, I guess is the thing there. If I go for the throat, the Treasure Mage, they, I mean, almost certainly don't counter that, and they just use the map. So now they'll play Wormcoil Engine, and so I guess I'm going to use this here, take this up, discarding Abrupt Decay. If I get Kiora online, then Wormcoil Engine, I can deal with Wormcoil Engine with the Kiora Plus effect. They didn't use Academy Ruins on upkeep, so we're not quite going to get Mindslaver just yet. They're killing the Liliana. They have map. Okay, so they're going to get another tower, and then they'll have Mindslaver lock next turn, unless I draw Spreading Seas. So I could Kiora and bubble this. So they'll put Mindslaver on top. So it's 6 to play, 4 to activate. So maybe they're... No, that's right. 10 mana. 10 mana is a Mindslaver lock, right? No, it's 12. Does it even matter? I'm not sure if I even want to show them this Kiora, because I'm so likely to lose anyways. So we'll bubble the Wormcoil. Yeah, so they can Mindslaver me, but they're a couple mana short of the Mindslaver lock. Because they need 6 to play, 4 to activate, and Academy Runes plus a blue and another mana. So they're 1 mana short. So they'll probably just do nothing with the Kiora, maybe cast Damnation, maybe not, and see what my draw step is, but still not looking good. Basically, even though this isn't the Mindslaver lock, I think this is still Mindslaver every other turn. So they minus Kiora. And just pass back to them. So Wormcoil will take out Kiora. Wonder if on upkeep they're gonna... No, they're not. And that makes sense. I think you just want to try to draw a land to actually complete the Mindslaver lock. Oh wow, what is this? Just start a turn by tapping 6 mana. Oh no, just but I think this does, yeah, this will get another tower, and then, or maybe they get like a redundant Power Planter Mine just to prevent me from top decking Spreading Seas, but this will for sure get them enough mana for the Mindslaver lock. Mirror Pool. I've never seen that one. I didn't even see that in Standard. I know it can do some cool things, but I don't know if we're going to see that. I'm probably going to be dead by then. What does it do? Maybe I should read it just for posterity. So you can copy an instant or sorcery you control, or you can create a token copy of a creature you control. So I'll just, I guess, Damnation here, and I don't think it really matters. They should be able to Mindslaver lock me, but right, this does tap for colorless. It'd be weird if it didn't. That's something that they've done in Magic pretty regularly now, is even if there's like some interesting utility land, it still has the ability to tap for a colorless mana. Oh, they just got another Worm Coil. Maybe that's the faster route to victory instead of Mindslaver. Oh, they probably just want to Mirror Pool it. But if they Mirror Pool it, then they back her, right? You sacrifice it. Yeah, if they Mirror Pool it, then they're back down to not having enough mana to Mindslaver me. So I can activate, block, push, but it's only as a sorcery. Nope. I guess that would make sense with being able to copy an instant. Kind of weird. Oh, and I guess mirror pooling the yeah, that does it by itself. Alright, so we are against a blue Tron deck. So what do we want here? I think we want negates and rejections for sure. These go for the throats are pretty bad. Same with fatal push. And really damnation too, to be honest. All of this isn't very good. I think our best way to deal with the worm coil is just to bubble it with Kiora. I think we want the Tasigurs, and then we may want Tireless Tracker or Nihil Spellbomb. Is anything else here particularly bad? Decay has perhaps some artifact targets. Pulse is a reasonable removal spell. Maybe we don't want all the... Well, how good is Nihil Spellbomb? Really, it just stops the potential of a... or it makes the Academy runes less powerful. I'm not sure if that's really worth it. I'm going to keep them out. We do have Spreading Seas to handle and Academy runes. And that also is a good card against the other Tron lands, so, or the Tron lands in the deck. Take the play. This looks pretty good. So I'm going to lead off here with a... How do I want to lead? I think just Creeping Tarpit, and then we'll Inquisition next turn. After we see how they're... Well, it would have been nice to steal that map. A lot of times this deck has to kind of sit back on their maps. They have Talismans, Treasure Mage, Thirst for Knowledge. Is this a... Okay, it is a Commit to Memory. Interesting. Their only blue mana is this Talisman unless they use it to use the expedition map to go get it. So I'm going to take this talisman. Kind of awkward, these spreading seas here, but okay, so I can get a Liliana into play. And they don't have a 7 mana play. They have an 8 mana play. One, two, three, four, five, six. The way their hand is, I'm not sure what I want to get rid of. I guess I'll get rid of one Spreading Seas. It's possible I want to get rid of this Negate, or maybe the Kiora, but Kiora is our best win condition, so I kind of don't want to get rid of it for that reason. Opponent is questioning me, but they don't have blue mana, so why would I want to do that? Now I will get rid of the Negate. So we have a Liliana on top of our deck now. And that's the commit part. Treasure Mage. So they have a Sundering Titan and a Wormcoil Engine. I'm going to get this Kiora in play so we can start getting towards the ultimate. And then Liliana we can get into play next turn. So don't really want to fetch here just in case somehow this Sundering Titan sneaks in. We only have, this Overgrown Tomb that's a land type. But I will play the Swamp here because, well, yeah, so plus, then play Lily. And we'll make them hopefully discard if this resolves. It does. Oh, they're going to Thirst for Knowledge. That makes sense, so they can basically go up a card in hand before they have to discard to the Liliana. Also helps them dig for Tron again, if they can find a... Okay, so they got rid of the Sundering Titan to the Thirst for Knowledge. So that makes me think that they didn't find Tron. They may just have a 6th land for the Sundering, or for the Wormcoil engine, though. One Urborg, interesting. Might be to help pay for dismembers. So they hit the land. Here's the Wormcoil. That's a great draw. Alright, so fetch. Doesn't matter a ton. The swamp. Tasigur, get them to discard, and then I can bubble the Wormcoil engine with the Kiora, and I have Tasigur and Creeping Tarpit to play defense. Against the mages. We don't know about any of their cards in hand anymore, so get rid of those. Activate our Tasigur. Ooh, get a Spreading Seas back. Alright, so we can Spreading Seas the tower now. Sure, they reman. That's fine by me. What's this? Commit? Condescend. That's fine too. Then I'm just going to run out the Snapcaster Mage to, again, block their mages so I don't have to discard with Liliana of the Veil. There aren't any instants or sorceries in the graveyard anyways, and we'd have to discard it. Just want to keep ticking my planeswalkers up, protecting them. That's the plan for the game. Discard an island. So hopefully we can ultimate these planeswalkers. Maybe if we're lucky we'll be able to not have to do Liliana next turn and be able to wait. Right, they just play out a land, so that makes sense. No reason to really tend it. And that gets them back to Tron, which is a little bit annoying. What are they doing here? Oh, they're going to cast the memory. Interesting. I guess they cast memory and then they still have 7 mana, so that's not bad. They don't have blue mana. Wonder if they have like Karn or Ugin in their deck. Probably going to have to ultimate this Liliana next turn and just try to shut them off Tron as best as possible. Platinum Angel. Alright. I don't see any way out of this, so we might as well start here. Alright, so let's dissect this. Classic is lands versus non-lands. What would that do for us? That would put 2 Wormcoil tokens into play. That would, if they choose, okay, so let's think about that. So lands versus non-lands. Put 2 Wormcoil tokens into play. We can bubble the Death Touch one. We have Ceremonious Rejection to get whatever their spell is if they keep the lands. We have Tireless Tracker to hopefully get us. It seems, so we could also do a split where we just keep them off of Tron. Let's look at what that would look like. So we would maybe put all the power plants in one pile and then these in the other pile. How would we split the creatures? Maybe we put Wormcoil over here and put, I kind of like this pile. So this gets them off of Tron. And if they, yeah, so this, I think that's the main thing, is that we just want to get them off of Tron and we want to deal with at least a little bit of their board. So then they sacrifice this pile and then they get 2 worms over here, and how do we deal with that? That's pretty hard to deal with. I guess we'd have to bubble the Platinum Angel, trade off a little bit with trackers and Tasigur. That doesn't seem bad. What happens if they keep this pile? Well, they can't really keep just one Wormcoil engine. So I guess what we do is we move one of these over here, one of the mages. Maybe even, well, if we move both over here, what happens? So they get rid of this pile, they would just lose Tron and Platinum Angels. If we get rid of this pile, then they get Platinum Angel and 2 Worm tokens. That seems like a pretty good split to me. Yeah, I think I like this split. Very interested. Tell me how you would have split this in the comments. So this kind of takes them off of Tron and puts us back in a similar position. They're also very unlikely to ever get Tron again because we've gotten rid of 3 of their power plants. I'm going to Spreading Seas this other mine. And that looks alright to me. So we might be able to get this Kiora to ultimate. So the Liliana kind of bridged the gap there. I think that was a pretty good split. Again, I'm very curious to know how you would have split that pile. So they had a Platinum Angel, 3 power plants, 1 mine that was an island, a tower, another mine, and an actual island. And then Treasure Mage, Snapcaster Mage, and Worm Coil Engine. Solemn. Don't really care about Solemn. I think we can manage that. Next turn, the Kiora is going to Emblem. And they don't really have any good attacks. Thoughtseize is nice. So I'll Thoughtseize them. And probably Ultimate Kiora. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is there any way EE could be bad? I guess EE could potentially kill some tokens. Otherwise, I don't think EE could be too bad for us. Condescend could be annoying. Repeal, I don't think is terrible. We'll get rid of, well, yeah, we'll just get rid of Condescend. Emblem this Kiora. And then cast that, play this land. So Repeal can take care of this Kraken token. Well, they should have done that on end step. But we're going to have an onslaught of tokens, so I don't think that's a huge deal. E for 0. I guess this blows up my clues. Am I really worried about this? Probably the worst thing would be another Worm Coil Engine. I'll let them commit the mana to blowing it up. So let's pop out our known cards again. So they played the EE. So they're going to blow it up, so let's crack a bunch of clues, get a little deeper in the deck, grow our trackers. So they have a Sundering Titan, a Repeal, a Gemstone Caverns, one unknown. I don't think the unknown card could be particularly bad, so let's just crack another clue too. This also grows our trackers to the point where they can actually trade with Wormcoil Engine. And so let's make that trade. So again, we're really going to be leaning on this Kiora emblem to help us finish. Let's Thoughtseize. Take Remand. Cast a Serum Visions. Abrupt Decay. That's fine. Kiora is kind of, I think, what we want here. Let's Thoughtseize again. Probably take the Repeal. As long as we have Ceremonious Rejection, the Sundering Titan isn't really a threat. It's fine, especially since we haven't played our land, but that was kind of part of the reason. We'll take the Oblivion Stone. Tar Pit, get a clue. Pass back, get a Kraken. Okay, so opponent has Gemstone Caverns and a Sundering Titan. So they would need to draw one more land to get that Titan into play, but we have a pretty good board for that. Attacks, we'll just crack the clue. Get this Kiora. Just start attacking with Krakens. Lifelinker. It's probably their best way to prolong the game, is to just lifelink up with this worm, so let's not let them do that. What is this? Oh god, a Cyclonic Rift. Sure, that happens. And then I'm going to Abrupt Decay the Death Touch Worm. Discards. I don't think we need both these Spreading Seas, and we probably can get away without a land. And Snapcaster. I guess Ashiok, we are going to need that, so we'll get rid of her. Alright, so they're going to Sundering Titan. We're going to Ceremonious Rejection the Sundering Titan. Two, four, six. Oh, this is maybe a little loose. Yeah, because that's... I'm playing quickly because I know if I win this, I have to play another game. I definitely want... Yeah, I want to keep that Snapcaster so I can flash back Ceremonious Rejection. Play that. Play Kiora. I should Spreading Seas this tower so I don't get mised out by Tron at some point. Play that. Plus here. Thoughtseizes are all bad. Liliana the Veil isn't great. Serum Visions. It's that. And pass. So I guess I'd be at 5 if I hadn't ambush vipered that Snapcaster Mage. Oh man, is this another? Okay, this is another Cyclonic Rift. We're not winning this game. It's a really tight game. Yeah, I'd feel so much better if I had that Snapcaster available. Gemstone Caverns is legendary. Those. That. At this point, it's just trying not to time out. And I guess not to lose the game. I get sloppy. Okay, Ugin. Ugin's going to have to minus pretty far because of Tasigur. To get rid of this, my board's too big. Sure, that happens. So then Ugin will probably have to minus 6. I'll attack it with Creeping Tarpit, but I'll still have an emblem making Krakens, so it's not a huge deal. And I want to activate that one as well. Attack Ugin, attack the player. So then this turn, next turn, my Kraken will be lethal. Alright, so we got that game 2. Sideboarding. Anything I really want to change here? I could see maybe Collective Brutality being good, but I don't know what I would cut for it. Everything seems pretty reasonable otherwise. I mean, they only have so much counter magic. I think I'll just run it back. Kind of wish I had more counter magic in the board, but this is really a tap out control style deck. You know, all our threats are planeswalkers you have to cast on your main phase, and we have more discard than our main form interaction is discard in the main deck. Alright. I'll keep this. This is fine. We have Spreading Seas to deal with Tron. Liliana hopefully comes down at some point. Field of Ruin. That's not a super scary land to start off on. can't afford to spend too much time thinking. I'm probably not going to commentate as much either, so I apologize for that, but I want to win this match. Right, so I'm going to get my fetch out of the way. Don't need that. I don't even think I really need that either. So hopefully jamming one of these planeswalkers resolves, and if anything, we need to get ahead on clock from our opponent. Micro decisions like scrying can really change the way things go with that. Okay, so next turn I'll go to hopefully Thoughtseize, and then cast Kiora. Should hopefully help it resolve. So they would have had Tron if we had not had the Spreading Sea, so I like my line there. Let's actually lead off with Inquisition. Inquisition, Thoughtseize, Kiora. That seems really solid. Thirst. Massive Condescend. Like I said, this scrying decision is going to cost them in time. So if they have Tron, what's the worst thing here? Probably Mindslaver. Full minute ahead on time. Snapcaster Thoughtseize. Take Cyclonic Rift. Probably, if they allow us to do it. So they're going to get a pressure Kiora. I think I will actually activate the Creeping Tarpit if they attack. I want to leave basic in my deck because of this Field of Ruin. So next turn they would have Tron. Doesn't really matter, especially even though we're low on time, this Kiora emblem would be eventually get us there. Although I guess they're gonna reset our board. Ugin. Well, we have a Maelstrom Pulse for the Ugin, so that's not going to destroy us. Well, we're going to pick this one up on timeout, but kind of hard to say what would have happened if we actually played it out at the conclusion. I don't know. I never feel too bad winning about timeout when I'm recording just because I have to talk, and that slows down my thought process. I play a lot slower when I'm recording and commentating than I do uh, otherwise, so I think I would probably be, several minutes ahead on the clock if I weren't recording. In which case, then I kind of think the opponent is probably a little bit slow, and there's a reason that there's the chess clocks on Magic Online. So we were kind of lucky to come away with that one. I guess if I were in like a tournament, this probably would have been a draw, so this would be like 3-0-1. But on Magic Online here, where we do have the chess clocks, that's a win for us. So what is this? One more to go. So let's hope to finish strong. Try to get that 5-0. Hello, Stratters. Here we are, finishing strong, hopefully, with our final match of the video set with Sultai Control. Alright, this could be Storm again. Let's see, how do we want to fetch here? Probably just get a Breeding Pool. Serum Visions. Could also be like the Delver deck that I played not too long ago. I've seen a few people playing that, and I think that deck is pretty real, so I don't think I'm going to have time for another Serum Visions, but this Liliana is probably good no matter what the opponent's up to. So let's see, another Spire Bluff, and okay, so it looks like another match against Storm. So here we just, I think, are absolutely priced into pushing the opponent's Baral. go from there. So if they have a land cost reducer and the nut draw, then we could certainly die here. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Good, we get a play on. Let's see, I definitely want another black source, and I think I'm more likely to want another blue source. So I'll cast that. They could have Remand here, but my only answer is a Liliana. I could Inquisition them, Serum Visions, and hope to hit an answer. That also doesn't seem great. Although if I Inquisition them, the chances that they get to go off are relatively slim. Let's think about this. So do I want a Liliana? Well, if they had a Remand, I think they would lead off with Electromancer and then go with Baral second, since that gives you the loop. Okay, so that resolved. That's nice. Yeah, so I think that's the tell there is. I mean, they could have drawn the Electromancer. That's always a possibility, but all right. So let's Inquisition them. Maybe we want to start by doing the discard. I guess let's start by doing the discard, so then these Spreading Seas aren't going to be worth anything in this particular matchup with how their mana lines up. So the only way we get punished for doing tick up then discard is if they have a bunch of 4s. Do I plan on repealing anything? I guess they get a card draw either way. Probably just want to take this Manamorphose and cast a Serum Visions. Don't need another land, but Kiora is again going to be how we win this game. Let's go after their red mana, I guess. Alright, so sitting alright here. They're probably going to repeal... Oh, no, they're not. Okay. I would have been tempted to maybe repeal the Liliana, but I guess... What are they really going to... Ooh, empty the Warrens. Main deck, too. Let's kill those. Tick up. I don't think we need Ashiok. We're going to go with Kiora to win this game. I've seen a few Storm decks play empty in the main deck. I'm not sure about that one. Maybe there's enough weird stuff going around where you want to diversify your win conditions. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not a very well practiced with the Storm deck. Well, Liliana's certainly going to pressure what they can do. And they are, I think, going to have to go off through the graveyard because it looks like both their Storm cards are in the graveyard. So I'll let the opponent tank on their Gifts Ungiven. Okay, I was gonna think about pausing, but oh wow, they have pieces of the puzzle. It's almost like they have a sideboard configuration as their main deck. I think again I want to ditch the Past in Flames so they can only, for the same reasons I described earlier, have access to one, and then I I want to go with, I guess Pieces of the Puzzle fights my Liliana the hardest, so I want to make sure that they... Oh no, oh, I F6 through my turn too. God, oh, that sucks. Okay, well, it looks like that wasn't a huge deal. Okay, so let's recompose. That's the Serum Visions. I don't want either of those. Put them to the bottom. I honestly don't think I need this Creeping Tarpit. I would rather have access to the other cards that I have. Oh, they drew another... Okay, so they drew a repeal. That's fine, because now I can just discard Liliana, and then I can just play another Liliana. See, because now I get to do this twice. So I feel like that doesn't work out the best for the opponent. So I got rid of Serum Visions, Metamorphose. So I don't think I know any of the cards in their hand anymore. So they would need a couple rituals, or they would need a ritual and a cost reducer. Metamorphose isn't a ritual without a cost reducer in play, so that's fine. Land drops don't really matter at this point. They already played their Empty the Warren, so I think I can safely get rid of this Maelstrom Pulse. So they have 5, so 5 mana. Use 2 of that, they go down to 3, they could go to 6, so that doesn't quite give them enough to Past in Flames. I think I need to get the clock in play, and really for me this clock is Kiora, so we'll do that and give them kind of a one-turn window if they've got the right stuff, but I'm not sure what that could be, because even a ritual into Past in Flames doesn't leave them with enough mana left over. They're playing out the lands. So again, I just want to keep this go for the throat in case they have a cost reducer. Liliana getting to go ultimate. Okay, another Gifts Ungiven. That's their... I guess just their second one. So the pile they build might have to have a cost reducer in it, and if that's the case, then I think we're fine. So I'll get rid of... What are we worried about? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I give them any rituals... I can't give them the Past in Flames because then they have 4 mana and 6 mana, so they can just start ritualing. It might not matter what I give them, honestly. So if I give them a ritual, so 6 mana, they go down to 4 to cast the ritual, up to 7. I kind of think it doesn't matter what I give them at this point. So I will just, I guess, resign to my fate. That in the yard, and put that in the yard. Oh, I guess they are gonna... Oh, I didn't think about that. Now they have to discard a card. Well, maybe we have a chance. No, because now they just ritual. Yeah, so we're, I think, dead here. One turn before we would have gotten the Liliana ultimate. Yeah, so they Past in Flames, fire off all their rituals. They should have more than enough. Although I guess they don't have a cost reducer, but they're going to... Okay, now they have a cost reducer, so stop my F6. Go for the throat that. Maybe they end up... No, they have too much. I think we're dead. If we aren't actually dead, we're really close. Yeah, at this point, the storm is 12. I mean, I guess I'll just want to see what pile they get, but I don't think it matters. And then, so put Grape Shot in the yard, put, I guess, Desperate Ritual in the yard. Yeah, so now they can just Grape Shot me, so. Right. Brawl. Now they Grape Shot me, maybe, maybe not. Wait, this has flashback. Yeah. Alright. So we were, again, close on that one, so if they're just, which often happens, like they're a mana short or a card short or whatever, next turn we would have ultimated the Liliana and just killed half their lands. So again, that was another matchup against Storm where it just comes down to that really last minute. So what did I want to cut? Again, the Damnations are pretty poor, and the Ashioks. I want the Negates, and I want the Explosives, the Nihil Spellbombs. I think both my creatures, is that how I sideboarded? And then I cut these Spreading Seas. I think this is how I did it before, and this still... Oh no, I need to get these Collective Brutalities in. What else did I cut? Maybe I didn't bring in the Tireless Trackers. Yeah, they're a little slow. Tasigur's a little bit faster of a clock. Yeah, so I could bring in the Leylines. Although I did fine without them last time, and I'm not sure what I would want to cut. All the rest of this seems pretty good to me. Alright. Yeah, I like how this looks. So I'm going to lead on Tarpit, and then I'm going to do double discard spell next turn. This hand also has Abrupt Decay, so we're a little bit insulated from Blood Moon if we're able to float the mana in response. Actually, now I think I can just fetch a swamp here, and then intend on fetching a forest with that Verdant. So, pile of remands. What happened with their Serum Visions? They put one card on top. I don't care about Electromancer, and I don't care about Metamorphose, really. Might want to cast another... take this other Serum Visions. They just have such a pile of remands, I don't think I want to take them all. Yeah, I'm going to take the Serum Visions, and then do I... Well, I need to Thoughtseize now, otherwise it's just going to get remanded later. Yeah, I'll take the Serum Visions, and then I guess I will take a Ritual. Fetch again my Forest just to insulate against Blood Moon. They'll remand me, but then that's fine, I guess. There's a chance that I maybe just don't even want to cast spells into it, but with Abrupt Decay being uncounterable, so I'm going to Fatal Push this Electromancer so they remand. So they're down to one remand and a Metamorphose that I know about. Actually, now I can Collective Brutality. So I'm going to do the discard and the -2. So that was actually really good. So we got them tapped down. Discard Go for the Throat to that one. We have a they have Blood Moon, but I mean they don't have any islands, so that seems poor. And we have Abrupt Decay, so we can get out from under it whenever we want to. So they cycle through both their Metamorphose. Now they cast Baral. They ritual out Blood Moon. Alright, so they don't have any blue mana, which is exactly fine by me. So I'll just kill the Baral. Might just let them kind of languish under this Blood Moon for a little bit. Okay, so they made some goblins. So we can't really sit around here for too much longer. I'll kill a goblin. Not a great use, but they're kind of out of things, and as long as they're locked under the Blood Moon without a basic island, it's not a huge deal. So I'll draw a card. Yep. Okay, Kiora is a nice one. So we can go Abrupt Decay the Blood Moon at some point. We also have a few outs to these goblins. It's kind of a... Since we have another Kiora, I don't feel too bad about doing it this way. This also prevents them from hopefully attacking me. Alright, so now I plus here. Oh, no, I did this the wrong way. I should have, because I wanted to Liliana Edict. Now they're going to just get rid of the one that I targeted. That's kind of bad. So I'm going to lose one of these planeswalkers. Yeah, my sequencing was really bad this turn. Guess they have blue mana again, but I also can cast all of my spells now. I have really good mana. I wonder which one they kill. I would be tempted to kill Kiora because that's the one that can deal with creatures really well. Okay, so they do Parole. Ritual, is this another Blood Moon? That would be weird. Okay. Are they going for it? Oh, they're just going to do a little value. Past in Flames. That makes sense, I guess. And if they get lucky, they could get it. So probably kill Kiora here. Or maybe they, well, I guess this makes sense too. So they'll Grape Shot away Kiora and me. I have Creeping Tarpit on defense. I think I just want, well, I guess I don't have Tireless Tracker in the deck, so it doesn't matter too much. I wanted another green source, and I guess another blue source. That's a nice one. What number? If I let them untap with Baral, what are the chances that they can kill me? I think I need to explosives for 0 and crack it. And let Kiora bubble the Baral. So I could die to some combo here, but I'm close to dying to just regular damage from tokens. If I untap, I'll have a draw step mana, and I can even use Kiora. So Past in Flames cost 4. Okay, so nothing happened. So do I continue to tick up? I think I need to look for answers. I have the Creeping Tarpit on defense. Tasigur is pretty nice, but is this good enough? I think I'll go top. I have Tarpit on defense against Baral. This ritual might kill me. Oh, they have an empty. Gonna go for a Past in Flames kill? Okay. I think they can. Yeah. It's just grape shot and I'm dead. Maybe I should have explosived on 2 to kill the Brawl, but then I don't get my Kiora into play, and I'm taking a couple hits from goblins. So it's hard to say. I don't know. This one was a little bit weird compared to the last match I played against Storm. But still a pretty respectable 4-1 finish. I felt pretty good about the deck, and I don't know. I kind of haven't played a ton of matches with it yet, so maybe I could have like eked out that last one if I played a little bit against Storm more, or it could also just be again a lack of familiarity with the Storm side of things. But we got a couple chests here, got some play points. Let's go ahead and open those up for you all. Yes, please. 130 play points? Oh my gosh, that's really good. And Blackcleave Cliffs, Glorybringer's a standard, really awesome rare, so I bet that's worth a few tickets. Yeah, that's a really good treasure chest. I basically got, I mean, double my play points and then some, and Blackcleave Cliffs and Glorybringer are worth some tickets, so it's a good one. Awesome. So back to the deck. I do think the deck is actually pretty good. I was very impressed with Kiora. Just a lot of decks are not playing Lightning Bolt or Burn in general, which is kind of important with as fragile as her loyalty is. I mean, a lot of decks kind of build around a singular threat, and then trying to make them overextend plays really well with Damnation. I mean, all of this was kind of as good as it usually is, the kind of the reason that they're format staples. Decay felt good. Go for the Throat was, I think, fine. You need to have some removal spell that can kind of hit certain things here. Pulse was good. Ashiok, I'm still kind of jury's out on Ashiok, whether I like her very much or not. Thing is, like, you can't play Liliana the Last Hope because we don't really have enough creatures to buy back. So I'm not sure, and Ashiok is a win condition for our deck. I think we only had that one game where she kind of stole a few of our opponent's creatures and helped us win. Spreading Seas were fine. They were, I guess, a little awkward against like that blue Tron deck, even though they're good at shutting them out of Tron, kind of fix their mana. But against a normal Tron deck, I think there's zero downside with that card. Shut down a Gavany Township in one game, I guess. So I think this is pretty close. I think Kiora's definitely worth dusting off and trying. I like the creatures in the sideboard, but you can always kind of get away with that when nobody knows what your deck is. So once they kind of figure out, like, oh, this is probably a creature-less control deck, they might side out some removal, and that makes these better. All the other cards seem perfectly reasonable, so I think this deck is at least a good starting point for something in Modern if you want to be a little bit more of a controlling. And normally I don't do tap-out control decks, but I kind of like how Kiora is positioned here. I wonder if there's a way to maybe put Kiora in a more creature-focused deck so we have some, some stuff to do some blocking. Maybe I would try like a Bant deck or something that would play Kiora instead. But she seemed pretty good right now. It's kind of the card that made me want to try this deck in this particular style. Yeah, so let me know what you thought of the deck. Any other comments that you have, any things that maybe you'd want me to try and play, I will read the comments. I try to respond as best as I can. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, Stratters. I hope to have some more videos with you soon.